Hey, Flickin' Fanatics, welcome back to Flickin' Real. We got another review on our hands because we have seen The Last of Us, Episode 2, entitled Infected. Who's infected, you might ask? Stick around, let's find out. Jesse, how'd you enjoy this
A
episode?
lot. No, I'm not heartless, but I'll say no tears this episode, but definitely
Yeah,
an ouch. There's definitely an ouch. Once again, I am excited to comment on changes and deviations from what I have already experienced in the game, but for the most part, it
right.
seems like it's almost never to the detriment of the show. It really embellishes, enriches, and adds to what we got in the storytelling, the original storytelling. I love this episode. This was incredible aesthetics. I think the main character of this episode is honestly set design, and that did a lot of the heavy lifting in this episode. But all around, great performances. We really get everyone settling into their roles. Ellie and Joel and Tess. Good stuff.
It was great. It was beautiful. I can't wait to jump into it. We're going full spoilers, so catch us after the jump, and we'll talk about it. And you can talk about it. You can comment on the video. You can like the video. You can tell your friends about the video, and we'll all have a great, big, fun conversation. See you there. All right, we're back. Okay, listen, full spoilers. If you haven't seen the show, go watch the show. If you've played the game, you kind of know what's going to happen, but we can definitely get into it. They started the episode too. We're not going to go through beat by beat, but let's talk about maybe some deviations
I'm
from the
loving
game.
what they're doing in the first two episodes with these first
yes.
10 minutes or less.
Right, and because I say this too in the reaction, which is up on the channel now. Make sure to go check out the reaction. Cut down. I did a full live watch along, which you can also watch if you want to queue it up and watch with me. There's a lot of silence involved, but you're watching the show. We're watching together, or
not
go watch
quiet.
The reaction. It's
silence.
Cut down. Silence, just silence. But something I mentioned was I love that we know a lot about Joel and Ellie, and we're going to learn about it. Even if you haven't played the game, you're going to learn throughout the show. It's their show, right? It's the two of them on their journey. But we are learning so much more about the surrounding world and the surrounding characters and their backstory, including how this cold open for this show basically was, hey, let's jump back to the inception where this thing was created in Jakarta, and we get this professor of mycology, so this biology professor essentially, and she says, bomb this city, kill everyone. Do not let this out. She goes, I want to go home. I want to go home and be with my family.
It's the second person to fully understand the grave 100%. Nature of this. I keep wanting to say virus because I'm so used to zombies, but the spread of this fungal parasite. And we got it in the first episode. We get it in this episode where it's there's no playing the game. If this goes, we lose. There's no medicine. There's no cure. And just that feeling of dread. And you had that officer or soldier or whatever he is. He's like, well, what do we do? And she's like, guess we'll die. It was intense. And again, it's context being added that I appreciate. Because there's no time for this scene in the game. There's nowhere to put it. There's nothing that wouldn't feel jarringly just slow, you're hitting a brick wall of pacing. But in the show, I'm loving it. I love that it's there.
Absolutely. It was great, and too, it got to show not just the gravity of the situation that happened 20 years ago, but also it got to show a little bit about the difference between the game and the show in the sense of how the fungus is transmitted. So she's doing an autopsy. She reaches in, grabs who I thought she was going to get her fingers bit off. I was like, there's a bullet in the head, but I really thought that person was going to come back to life.
Sure.
Yeah. 100%. Reaches in, grabs what looks like, just essentially these tendrils,
fungal
which is how
fiber.
The virus is transmitted. Mm-hmm. And it's still moving. She grabs them. They were still moving in her hand, which is so creepy. Great way to start the show. Unnerving right before they jump to that awesome opening, which I love every single time. So then we jump back to basically we see Ellie, which is, just additional context, additional scenes added. And we see Ellie being, essentially interrogated by Joel and Tess. Wait, what are you? Are you sure what happened? Tell us everything type of stuff. So additional context from the game differences. And I think it does a great job at showing exactly why Bella Ramsey was cast as Ellie, and how sarcastic she is, how funny she is. She's quippy, and she's not going to take shit from Joel. You know, when he's essentially like, hey, I will.
He's ready to throw her out the window.
You know, she twitches, and this was in the trailer. She twitches once, and I'm going to shoot her. And she just starts on me. I thought that was great. At that point, Tess, you start to see a little bit of Tess.
It dawns on her,
kind of coming to terms, like how important this mission is. Before they actually know, hey, there's doctors in this that we're trying to make it to the Fireflies doctor camp. But she is what convinces Joel, right? It's not Ellie convincing Joel or even Marlene. It's Tess and Joel's relationship with her and how serious that situation is, which we'll get to at the end. But Tess is the one who's convinced first, like, oh, this is something real. This is something that could change the world, you know?
And
what do you think?
Joel was ready to go back to like the QZ and like figure out something else. Yeah. She's like, no, this is the way. And she brings up the point that
this is the way.
This is the way. She brings up the point that it doesn't matter if she really is like the cure or the end all. We can tell she's not getting infected, and the important thing is that the Fireflies believe that, and that means we'll get what we need.
Yeah.
So we need to press on. And get to that point. And when they really start traversing this city, post bombing and post overgrowth and stuff, it's really when I was like, okay, I know everything in the background is CGI, it's effects and stuff. I feel like it was put together so seamlessly, and I felt almost as immersed as I was in that game, you know, like just hands on the controller. I felt surrounded by all this, and it was really, again, like the aesthetics is the star of the show, especially in this episode. And we'll talk about the clickers, we'll talk about some of the other infected and stuff and those designs, because not only are they spot on, but they are gorgeous in all the wrong ways. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. So we do get to find out too exactly what you said. So they the set design of them growing and traversing the city, they're climbing the apartments, they're looking at just structures that have fallen over. Oh, we can't go this way, because the game is very linear. You walk into a room, and a lot of times over and over again, where you just came from is now blocked. It's not in like an open world like treasure hunt game where you can get distracted on side quests. It's a very linear story. You can only go one way, you know. And so that's how this was. You know, they walk in, or even when they go into the museum, right? Once they go and they're infested in the clickers, they walk through the door. Oh, stuff falls behind them. Hey, there's only one way out. We have to.
And they see the things that have changed since the last time they took that path. It's like buildings are settling, things are moving. It's like, well, we used to be able to get out this way. Now the buildings collapse over here. Somebody has to crawl around and go open a door.
Which happens quite often in the game. Ellie's always crawling through a vent. Hey, let me go unlock that thing.
And we did get the reference of Ellie not being able to swim. I was waiting for that pallet. Yes. You gotta throw her on a pallet and push her across the water.
Yes. I thought that's what was gonna happen.
And then she went over to the I thought maybe we were gonna use the piano, but
Right. That was funny too, because that's against one just like ripped straight out of the game. That's, you do go through a museum that's kind of like underwater. There's a bunch of puddles, and she even goes up to the front desk at some point after you're done fighting this horde of like ravagers and stuff like that. She goes to the front desk and like, I'm checking in, sir. You can hear the dialogue in the background while you're looting all the bodies and stuff like that. So it's fun. They're doing so many homages and so many great callbacks to the game. I dug it after they get out of that hotel. We find a difference now that they've changed it, because they're not doing spores, they're doing tendrils. They've also developed this like brain work into the planet, which is fantastic. So it's almost a hive mind. So it reminded me of Avatar, right? Pandora, everything's connected. The planet has this inner working, you know? Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. So you step on one little tendril over here, this pack of cordyceps, and the whole entire hive will be after you in moments.
And I was telling you,
that was kind of like Pavlov's gun, because they brought it up, and of course they're going to bring it up at the end.
And we were talking before about how it's like, oh, that's a really interesting change. It makes sense. And there is the video after the show talking where they're doing the behind the scenes kind of discussions about it, and they talk about how that exists in the forest. You can get like I don't remember if they said miles or however long, but like the fungus and the mushrooms and stuff can be, they can communicate. They have like a pathway to communicate, and that's terrifying. It's not just like screaming. Like in the game, you set off one clicker, everybody comes, right? But this is like you step wrong, and everybody's coming for you. And I love that reveal we see of all the infected. They're not just aimlessly wandering the city. They're like crawling into this building. Like they're all on the floor because they really are just, it's a parasite and a body, right? So it's just using it as an avatar of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. So they that was, pigeonholed by this scene in the middle with the clickers. We got to talk about the clickers. They go into the museum, very reminiscent of the game once again. And of course, Joel is like, shut up.
Shut your mouth.
Be quiet. No, don't be quiet. Be silent. Not quiet, silent. And I love that he even threw out the line. He goes, I'm listening. Because Joel has super hearing in the game. In case you hadn't played the game, there is a little bit of a thing where he can listen in. You can hear the, and it kind of like goes into this.
That's one of the things that you can upgrade,
which is fine. It's a video game. Yeah, it's a video game. You got to give us some otherworldly stuff to do. But he and the clicker hears Ellie just breathe. Like she just breathed wrong. But it was close enough to hear her. And that whole scene was terrifying.
One thing I love about the way that they handled the clickers is they didn't really rely on jump scares. Like the first time you see the clicker, it just walks into the room. And they rely solely on the fact that they are terrifying to look at. Like they're just scary in the way they twitch and move and stuff. They don't rely on like, boo, it's a clicker. It's just like you are scared to be in the room with it as is. It doesn't have to jump out at you.
And they're, much like the game, they're one hitters. Like you get some of the runners, the less infected one, the ones we see towards the end where they're just like mindless. Like they're just like, oh, they see something move, they're running at it. The clickers are doing the same, but they will not let you go. They're more the ruthless. They're gonna kill you. You do not want to get touched by these things. Which we see Ellie basically getting bitten instead of Joel, kind of like getting in the way. It's just what I saw when I was watching it live. Maybe on a rewatch it might have happened. Like the choreography is a little different, but not to say I don't think she was like sacrificing herself for her, but it seemed like she was, she took the brunt of whatever bite Joel might have gotten to when they got out afterwards. But you could tell too, like escaping that scene, something happened with Tess,
and it wasn't as straightforward. Like I feel like you could fill in the blanks playing the game. Like there's that whole interaction. You're like, I think something might have happened there. And all they really give us in the show is that all of a sudden her sense of urgency gets ramped up.
Oh yeah.
And it's fun watching the show with somebody that's never played the game. And obviously I will keep saying I've only started playing the game. So I'm not like, way ahead, but enough to where I'm caught up on what's happening in these most recent episodes and probably the next one, but I need to continue getting ahead of the show. Anyways, but like not seeing the, Tess's untimely demise and the changes. I mean, we can talk about clickers more if we want, but
sure, go for it. Anything you want to bring up? I mean, we're just kind of moving through.
I was going to say, so once we get past the clickers and we get back down on like ground level and they think that they get to where the fireflies are, obviously there is an empty truck, which is like blood. There's some remains underneath and like, oh, what is this? And what I, something kind of tweaked in my head where I was like, this doesn't look like Fedra. They look like they got eaten. And because in the game, you are running all over this building in a firefight with all these Fedra guys, and then you still get to go in there and you see the aftermath of what happened to the fireflies, but it's not, well, there is some bullets because they said one person got infected and then everyone shot each other and then they all lost. So what I was telling Chris and Scott, we were talking earlier, is they keep like A, B, and C the same, but there's like pathways between these points and these goalposts that they change the how, and it still feels very reminiscent of the game. A lot of times improve it, and just sometimes it makes more sense. And I thought the way they handled it was great. If I never have to see a infected essentially like making out with Tess. That would be fantastic because that was one of my least favorite visuals I've seen in a long time.
That was unnerving. I was cringing the whole time. Oh, that was. You know what? That should be the thumbnail for this review episode. Is I'm gonna just plaster that right between
just
our
them
faces.
Going, la, la, la. Yeah, and both of us just going.
Instead of the infected sticking his tongue out, he was sticking his tendrils out. That was creepy. Maybe I won't do that after all. But yeah, that was. I thought
maybe it wasn't going to see her because she was already infected.
I thought that's what was going to happen. They were all running by her, right? And she's trying. She got her Zippo lighter out.
I thought she was going to grab a grenade or something. Why not? Just like run down there. And...
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why she wouldn't have done that. I mean, I feel like it would have exploded.
You would not have a mouthful of fungi.
I guess so. We'd miss out on that creepy scene. But it was great, and she was just paralyzed. She's like, if I start to run, they'll know something is up. But they were essentially trying to just attach to each other.
She was waiting for like the max amount to like fill out the building. Because if she blew it right as they walked in, then all the other ones would have ran over them and kept going. So she waited for like a whole line of them, and then, or just the Zippo lighter wouldn't flick on. One of the two.
I think. Well, she was trying. She was trying real hard to do it for sure. But it was sad to see her go. I would say it wasn't quite as emotional as the first scene of the first show and game. This one we kind of saw coming if you're a game player, and you can kind of see it coming regardless to just the way once you said earlier, her urgency was doubled. She was like, let's go, let's get rolling. You're like, oh, something's wrong for sure. And you could tell there was more it was more than just friendship between the two, because in the game they are just essentially friends. There's not
seemingly
like huge
platonic, or it's not clear at least.
Yeah. Exactly. This one is more emotional, and she even says, if you ever felt anything if anything you ever felt from me was as real as I wanted it to be, or something to that effect, she goes, you'll do this. Promise me.
She said, like, I've never asked any favors, like not even for you to feel the same as me, or like anything like that.
Yes, that's exactly what she said. Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell, like, in this moment, and it was funny too, because you could see some growth through this episode from Joel, like warming up to Ellie too. At the very beginning, holding a gun on her. They get into the hotel, and he goes and helps her up. She lends an arm to like help her up when she falls over. After they get out of the museum, he walks up next to her, and we see that scene from the trailer. We've been seeing that for months, where he kind of looks at her and smiles, like, "Hey, let's get on." And then he sees her having fun and like doing all this stuff, and you could see it in his eyes. Maybe this is just Pedro, like just being a great actor, but you could see him kind of warming up. So like, oh yeah, she's all right, she's cool. He still wants nothing to do with her at the end, because
especially
he knows
now,
how dire this situation has just become. I've just basically sacrificed my best friend and my lover,
and other than getting to like Bill and Frank's, not really knowing what you're gonna do.
Has no idea where are you gonna go with this situation,
and you're not any closer to getting a car.
No, they definitely not. I thought he was going to run out and maybe try to hotwire that truck, but there was, I think the looks like the gas tank was all blown to hell too, where that guy was like bloody on the ground too. But hey, there they go. Tess has sacrificed herself, and they are now on the road, just the two of them for now at least. They're going to meet up with some more characters throughout the season.
And not to pick the low hanging fruit, but I do appreciate Tess going out with a bang instead of just like. It was basically, I mean, it's suicide either way, but in the game, she was like, let's see how many of these guys I can hold off, and it's just like 20 guys running in just shooting the shit out of her. This one, she took out a level of infected, and I was like, that's a depressive way to go.
I like that. It gave her a little bit more agency, and a little more, what she said, going out with a bang. It gave her more of an outro type of thing, and she could actually be of some use in her final moments, because there's a moment where you could see her hand. Yeah, you could see her hand twitching. So she's like, she could feel it coming on, and who knows how long that walk was, But within, I think if you remember back to the poster, it says, "Oh, bite on like the neck and up," and it's within a few hours. You're going to be turned. Your mind is gone. Right. So she was nearing that moment, and yeah, she did actively save them. There was a horde of infected, not zombie. We shouldn't call them zombies. Infected runners just going to town.
And that's one of the things that's terrifying, because there's so much gun conservation in the game, and at least in the parts that I've played, there's not a lot of moments of there just being a shit ton of infected. They're usually a little more spread out. Right. So the concept of having like 100 runners coming your direction, I was like, I would shit my pants. But as Ellie said, luckily she did not.
Yes, Ellie did mention that at all. I'm excited. This was great. I love the subtle changes they made, and it's just enough to keep. It's enough to fill in. It's like reading a one-off side story. If being a fan of the game, you're like, oh, I wish I knew how this happened. The show is kind of giving that to us, so that's great. They're giving us enough to keep the game people happy, but also all these new people are coming into it. They're seeing it for the first time, and it is a well-rounded, fleshed-out world.
It's fantastic, and it's great to now again have must-see TV, because I mean the most recent thing that we've watched is like Willow, and Willow's fine. It's fun, but I never felt like I had to watch it that day. I was like, I would get around to it. This is like, it's 6 p.m. Let's go. Like, I was refreshing because it got to like 6:01, 6:02, and it wasn't there yet. And I was like, HBO, figure your shit out. And then, like 10 minutes into it, we got a crash. We got an HBO crash, and I was like, I'm gonna lose my mind. And we exited and we got back in there, and it was fine from there.
They probably had 10 million people watching the second episode. Well, so I was a little late to it because I was watching the 49er game. If you're watching this recently, it's Sunday night while we're recording this, and the 49ers were playing tonight. And I was sitting there, I'm like, come on, let's wrap this game up. I gotta go. It's 6:30. The game, come on, the game needs to be over now. I'm 30 minutes behind. I'm like, I need to watch my show. It's 30 minutes ago. I need to get in there and watch my show. So I was excited. So I missed any of the crashes that might have happened. But you probably had a ton of other people on the server at the same time. And yeah, so that was funny. Exactly what you said though. It's must-see TV. It's something where you're like, I need to be there Sunday night. I'm ready to roll. Yeah. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to get to the next episode. If you're watching this now, you should be seeing, if you're watching this now as it drops, you should be seeing the reaction video. We have to watch along up on the channel. And coming soon, Jesse and I are about to watch the teaser for next week, which we haven't done yet. I haven't watched the behind the scenes, which I really want to get to. And I think you said you watched the behind the scenes. I haven't seen that yet, or the teaser, which I really want to get to right now.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the episode? Hopefully you liked it a lot. We really liked both episodes a lot. I think it's only getting better. I was excited at the end of the last episode when I knew that we were going into the city. And I was like, this is where I think the show's really going to thrive. It's just building this environment. It's going to live or die on the believability of it. And right now, I am all the way in. Comment down below what you guys think. Which episode do you preferred more? What you're excited to see if you've played the game. Like this video. Subscribe if you haven't.
Do all that. Everything Jesse said. I'll do it. All that. We'll see you next time. Watch all the other videos. Like those two. Comment on those two. And we'll see you there. Peace.
Bye.